Good afternoon. I would like to call to order the June 30th, 2026 OCVB meeting. Susan, can we please have roll call?
Heather Patterson,
Present.
Don Dietrich,
Present.
Ankur Patel,
Excused.
Jason Crady,
Excused.
Amy Corrigan,
Excused.
Christine Graven,
Present.
Patrick McKeon,
Present.
and Councilmember Palmer.
Present.
I would like to ask Councilman Palmer, would you mind leading us in the Pledge of Allegiance? Thank you.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Okay, well, I have in front of us our agenda, and so if there's any questions, changes, or additions that anyone would like to make to the agenda, if not, I will need a motion and a second to approve it as presented.
Motion to approve, Dietrich. Second, McKeon.
All in favor?
Aye.
Anyone opposed? Motion passes. I also have the approval, I would like to get the approval of the minutes from our January 28th, 2026 meeting. Are there any questions, changes, or additions that need to be made to that? But if not, I do need a motion and a second to also approve those as well.
Motion to approve, Dietrich. Second, McKeon.
Anyone opposed? Or I'm sorry, all in favor?
Aye.
Anyone opposed? Motion passes. Okay, so we're going to move on quickly into our discussion items. We want to thank everyone for being here at this special meeting today. And our first line item that we have today is in discussion of the Mid-America Veterans Museum Light in the Shadows 5-year Remembrance Ceremony sponsorship. There's been a little bit of some changes with their budget in this event coming up, and so we need to discuss that. Patrick, would you like to kind of let us know exactly what's going on with that?
Sure. Sorry about that. Sure. Happy to share. As I have provided to you yesterday by email, we have received notice from the executive director of the Mid-America Veterans Museum that, and to give you some background, they had approached us at the end of last year about potential sponsorship of funding for their marketing efforts. And after consideration, this committee group made the decision that we could not fund their full request, but would choose to fund at a level of $15,000 the marketing efforts regarding the Light in the Shadows 5th anniversary of the Fallen 13 event. And this is the situation when during the evacuation from Baghdad, that at the airport there was an explosion and it unfortunately killed 13 U.S. servicemen, women, and one of those individuals actually was from St. Charles County and had some relationship with OFallon. And so this year is the 5th anniversary of that, and they were going to hold an event to honor that and bring attention to the service of our vets in our area. We did approve the $15,000 allocation to fund that marketing, an extensive marketing plan. And last week, we received a notification from the executive director saying that due to some unexpected manpower challenges, that they didn't feel that they were capable of fully executing the strategy as proposed. And after careful consideration, they have determined that they are going to decline or withdraw their request for funding. So I bring this in front of the OCVB for the purposes of, one, informing you that of this notification, and two, is there any consideration or thought to potentially, I will just say, renegotiating with the Mid-America Veterans Museum to maybe provide some support marketing funding at a lower level that they, given their manpower situation, volunteer situation, could maybe be able to fulfill that obligation. And so I bring this to your attention and open to answer any questions. may I just add before, one, Chair, that one of the decisions we can make is to accept this withdrawal as is, and that money would then be de-obligated within our budget and return to our standard budget, so.
Was there any note given, did they express what maybe they could use in the marketing aspect, even though they're saying the 15,000, we're not going to use all of that? Was there an amount at all mentioned that they would be comfortable with or would maybe possibly need?
There was not.
Okay.
There was not. I chose not to approach them even with this idea of renegotiating until we had this opportunity to discuss this among ourselves
Okay,
in a public forum.
sure. I mean, if the event is still happening and it's still going on, it's not been canceled, they'll still need some marketing efforts, just not to that level then is the impression I get, but we just won't know exactly what they would need.
Yeah, and I can provide members a copy of kind of their marketing plan that was presented back in, I want to say August, to us. Again, very detailed. I would comment that it was probably a little overambitious in terms of what they were attempting to do to promote this event. But no, I didn't want to make any suggestion that we were going to consider a lower amount for a different package of marketing plan without your permission first.
Okay. Anybody else have any thoughts on this?
Yeah, I just have a comment, Madam Chair. I thought that the letter that was sent to us was outstanding, just very thorough in their approach, and I thought they were very thankful for us being willing to help them. I think we should consider that for any future request for money. I think that the board would be fine just letting that slide at this point until they come back and request again.
Okay. When you say let that slide, as far as letting them keep or
No, let that slide, meaning we would not contribute to the effort
Okay.
at all
Okay.
until they come back and say, well, this is what we have in mind.
Okay, okay. Anyone else have any thoughts on that? Opinions?
I would support that recommendation. And as Don, I was very impressed by their initial presentation and the thought and effort put into that, and definitely appreciated their honesty in how they've approached this matter. So we would, I think just stand ready to, if they want to come back with a modified request. And I think our next meeting, is it actually at the end of this month, correct? Or we're still in June, end of July. So, they could.
Technically,
They
right.
could potentially reapproach us at the end of July, but that is getting very close. I think this is scheduled for August, something, anyway. So, yeah.
Okay, so then I'm assuming then that we would need to pass, basically vote on the fact of maybe withdrawing this then from our budget at the moment until further review and until other asks come to us, correctly? Is that correct?
I don't know. Kelly, may I ask you a question on that? Do we need to formally, I guess we can formally accept their withdrawal, but I don't think we need to take any particular action regarding the budget itself at this point.
No, I would recommend just leaving it in the budget and it becomes an unutilized item.
Okay,
So, and it'll go back into the fund balance. If they come back, you have that group, that amount of money that you can use towards their new request. And just, I would vote on the new one. If they come back and ask for it, then vote on what you're changing the use for.
okay, so there's no need to do any further anything. Okay,
Could they, because whatever we can do to support would be fantastic, I think, especially given the background of the event that I was unaware of before. Is there a way to, I'm going to use the wrong words, unfortunately, ignore this request in case they have, well, what I'm saying is, what if they have an idea to say, hey, if that's an option for me to do something at a lesser value, I could use it without requiring us to go reapprove or unapprove. I don't know how that works. So if we gave them $15,000 and they have a plan, say I could go use $5,000, without having to go through all the formalities of coming back and forth, especially given the timing, that could they just use that and then after they have updated their plan, come back to us and say, hey, we're willing to give back 10 or something along those lines to give a little more flexibility given the pretty rough timing because we're what, probably 45 days out?
We have had instances of that it is the instruction of this, formal instruction of this group for staff to then potentially renegotiate the deal. That's probably not the right wording, but to re-engage the Mid-America Veterans Museum and determine as to what they might be able to do regarding a lower dollar amount and give authorization for staff to represent that at our July meeting with the idea that it would be an amount below what is presently budgeted. I mean, that would be one approach.
Which, after saying all that, I thought probably don't want to set a precedent that says we approve a budget to go do an activity A and then leave it open for everybody to do activity B without us approving. That would be I think, the door we wouldn't want to open for future engagement. So,
Sounds like we'll know more than here in 4 weeks, how to proceed, if they're going to come to us at our end of July meeting.
Yes. So is the question, we let them reapproach us at our regularly scheduled July meeting with a revised request of which we can then make a decision then?
That's what I think, yes.
You can amend the budget at that meeting or something like that. If they ask for something, a lesser amount that it matches the description of the use that's already in the budget, then you're really not asking for anything new because they did ask for it. It's how is it described in the budget? Is it a specific event or is it for a specific expense? Like, is it for advertising only for this event or advertising for in general?
So we'll suggest that they attend the meeting and be able to amend it if needed. Okay.
And since Christine's running the budget now for the city, she can make this happen for us. That's how that works. Yeah.
All right, then. I like it. All right, well, then we will move on to our discussion item number 2. That is National Wiffle League Association's 2026 tournament sponsorship. That was attached to the email that we all received and the agreement there. Patrick, is there anything you'd like to add to that or anything that we weren't aware of in our last meeting?
It's been a while since we've talked about this. This was a budgeted item, I believe, and so this is what you have. You received, and in your the email was actually the formalized agreement. We didn't have a chance to do final review of that as part of a formal OCVB meeting. So, given the timing and the fact that they needed to get moving forward on their plans and marketing this event as the city as the primary or primary host, they staff went ahead and enacted with the city administrator's signature this formal agreement, and hopefully this meets all of the expectations of this body, and we are now working with the National Wiffle League Association in terms of executing this agreement, and it's requirements on their part, requirements on our part, and hopefully we have a successful event. So this is more informational, yet we never were able to actually formalize our approval of this agreement. So I think just to close the loop on it, maybe a motion to accept and support this agreement by this group would be beneficial.
Okay. Well, then let's do that. I will need a first and second approval of that motion.
I so move that we formally accept this signed agreement with the National Wiffle League Association regarding their national tournament to be held in O'Fallon in August.
Second Dietrich.
Okay. All in favor? Sorry, you're waiting for me. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Anyone opposed? All right, motion passes. Thank you. All right, now we'll move on to number 3. That is our sports tourism and local business engagement. And that is the 3. Okay. So yes, I did, hopefully all of us were able to look at that link at Mid-Rivers News Magazine and see all of the interview, it looks like, that you did.
Yes.
That was good, so.
So, may I talk about this one too?
Absolutely.
Thank
Be
you
my
so
guest.
much. I
Be
feel
my guest.
honored. I appreciate it. I bring this to you in part because this is to some extent fulfillment of our long-term vision here as a body to utilize the dollars that we collect off of transit guest tax for tourism-related activities that generate hopefully additional overnight stays in O'Fallon, in addition to expenditures throughout our community for meals and gas and clothing and sporting goods and everything else. And the city has made a significant investment in Ozzie Smith Fields, turfing those fields, that has enabled us to not only have more activity at those fields this year, but those fields are now booked for tournament play throughout all eligible dates in 2027. The recreation team approached my department a month or so ago and said, our concession sales are far and above beyond anything we've seen. We're having more and more people attend, because we can play in more inclement weather. We don't have less cancellations. These tournament directors are really taking full advantage of these fields as they stand now. And they were wondering, is there a way to now, and I'll use the word monetize, for our O'Fallon businesses, more of that activity that's actually happening in that investment. And so we are looking at how do we, as a organization and economic development, to tie more of that activity to our local businesses. And this article kind of talks about not only the fields, but also our major investment and partnership with a developer that's creating the O'Fallon Playfield Commons, which is an indoor sports complex, 160,000 square feet, that is expected to bring potentially up to 500,000 visitors to our community over a year once open. And so I would like to explore with you, or have us begin to discuss, as to how we might be able to do this. And I'm going to throw out a couple of ideas for you. As people visit Ozzie Smith Sports Complex, they have really received no information as to where local restaurants are, where they might be able to go to, buy an item, meal, drink, water, whatever else. And so one suggestion that I received was potentially placing signboards on those fields that maybe has a kind of a, within this 2-mile radius of the fields, here's 16 restaurants you may want to visit or take your family to, or whatever else, and marry that with potentially a QR code that would show other shopping options within our community. I think it's a very worthwhile idea to pursue, but it does cost some money to do something like that. How do we get more businesses to advertise on out there on the outfield fences? There is ability for them to buy fence time, or through arrangements, marketing arrangements through our recreation team. Very affordable for those businesses. So how do we get the word out to those businesses? How do we encourage those tournament directors to focus less on attracting local teams that drive in for the couple hours and then go back home, and maybe expand to more of a regional or even broader audience, and bringing teams in from distances of 100 miles or more that will actually then potentially spend the night in O'Fallon, create new transit guest tax monies that we can then use to help support, and become a revolving wheel of benefit. So those are some of the ideas that have come forth. I'm looking for as many ideas as I can collect, and also would like to be able to come back to you potentially in our next meeting in July with a possible request for some funding to help seed this tourism development effort.
One thing that comes to my mind right away, but I don't know how this would work because it's not necessarily ticketed events, but they're tournaments, but similar to what the Cardinals do, is like where they have nights, or they're sponsored. It's bobblehead night, or there's a backpack, but this company's logo is on it. So is there a way to maybe have the tournament sponsored by a said company? And then that company gives them, pays for that, but then they're also able to give them a promo item of some sort like that drives their business as well. Not sure how that would work, like I said, because it's not a ticket for an actual item, but maybe something tournament-wise, or something that all the players would receive, or something like that.
That is a really good thought, and this idea of potentially these sponsored nights or sponsored weekends that would allow our local businesses to maybe provide some promotional item or discount or something if you visit their business to these. One of the things that we are looking at regarding the National Wiffle League tournament is maybe a visitor's packet, that they could have, and would have that kind of information in it or something like that. My goal is not to ultimately financially benefit the tournament organizers, but potentially to partner with them to bring greater benefit to the city of O'Fallon and our local businesses. So I wouldn't want to have those tournaments say, well, for $1,000 you can be the sponsor of the weekend. As more of a, hey, let's partner with you, maybe at no cost, but we are providing things that your tournament participants will get from us as a way to do that.
Or could there be an opportunity as well for businesses, or is there space for booths? So a company that wants to set up a booth to promote their business and hand out coupons or promo items.
Like a tattoo shop?
Exactly.
Oh.
Temporary tattoos for all the kids at the tournament. That's exactly what I mean. So there is some value to that, to be like, hey, you can set up a booth, you can promote your company, and that company pays to get that promotion. I mean, if we're looking for a way for us to make some money, there could be a value there too, of like how many impressions will that company get if they were to come in and do that for that tournament, or hand out a promo item of some kind.
So I have two daughters that graduated college in May. One was in Colorado, one was in Utah, but one of my kids lives in a really small town called Price, Utah. And probably at the only, hope my daughter don't know, the only hotel I'd stay in that town, inside the little packet where I had my key, there was this card in there with a QR code, and it's called, it takes you to a place called Carbon Corridor, but it says scan the QR code for local recommendations on where to dine, shop, and explore. So maybe something like that can be an easy handout that everybody can scan a QR code, right? But this was at the hotel itself, right, along with my key. But I'm sure it could, we could do something like this and adapt it to, be handouts. And then where I struggled with bringing up the idea is it feels like this would be a decent idea on a business where somebody coordinates with all the businesses to, hey, everybody contributes and I'll buy not me, but, somebody create the cards and whatnot, and then people can sponsor to become part of the consortium if not. But I thought it was a great idea for that very scenario where if we are getting people from out of town, they're not going to know where to go find places to eat and such. But if you scan a code and I got a place that's 2 miles away versus 10 miles away, I'm going to hit the local, right?
I think that's a great idea, John. That this group here might be a way to help facilitate that relationship, that we would have a group that could then provide that service to our tournament organizers and use them as an outlet to get that information out.
And I feel that the need of us needing regional teams or getting those hotel stays, because that's something that we're lacking, is if it's all local, they're going home. They're not staying here. That, to me, in my opinion, just comes down to marketing it properly, that we have that space available, and or have we spoke directly, like you said, to these organizers and said, hey, this is our desire, that we would like to be able to bring in more funds with outside tournaments. But I think, what does that look like also? Is that even something that you market to the public, that, hey, we have this? Or is that more of an internal thing with organizers? That's something I don't know. I'm not part of that, so.
The nice thing that I learned about this is that we're only dealing, let's say we've sold out 27, but we're only dealing with 3, 4, 5 tournament organizers that have taken all those weekends. So we've got a small cohort of individuals we need to deal with. It's not like we're dealing with 20
Sure.
and trying to herd cats. We've got 3 to 4. It also indicates to me that demand exceeds supply. That we have an asset that is in high demand, and that maybe we up the ante for these tournament organizers to say, look, you can have 17 weekends, but half of those need to be
Yes.
teams with 50% of teams have to come without outside the.
Or put a limit on it of some sort, like this organizer gets this many, or this organizer, but we do need some from the
Yeah,
outside, like you said.
we're now putting out, if you want all 17 weekends, you've got to have at least half those tournaments that are
Right.
drawing teams from a bi-state area or
Sure.
8 states, that are nearby. And put more onus on them to say, yeah, if you want to use our fields, you have to up your game and not just rely upon a team from St. Peter's and Hazelwood and Creve Coeur and all that. You need to fill those slots with teams that are coming from a distance and that utilize our hotels.
Also, has there been any financial adjustment to it since it's been turfed? Is it more expensive to rent these or reserve these fields now that there is turf and now there is more value to the games not being canceled and all of that? I don't know that answer either. I don't know if anybody does. It was increased.
Maybe we should have someone
Cost was?
from Recreation
Yeah.
come and
Well, I mean, it's
share
just a
that with us.
question.
At our next meeting, we
Yeah.
could have.
It was supposed to be adjusted. I
Okay.
don't know if it has, but it was supposed to be.
That makes sense, yeah. Anybody else have any thoughts on this?
Again, this was just more of a matter of bringing this to your attention that we're starting to see dividends paid. This organization made the recommendation to contribute to the turfing of those fields. We have a vested interest in the success of those fields, and we should be working now hard to take full advantage of that and creating the benefit to our community. So we can definitely discuss that more in July and maybe hear more details as how the economics on this work.
I think it's a great idea.
I would add, as someone who spent an unfortunate amount of money on taking my kids out of town for stuff, and now that I'm an empty nester, I wish it would have all happened earlier. They don't even actually have to be super far, because I'm thinking about times we've had to go to Cape Girardeau, and you have a 6 p.m. Friday night game and an 8 a.m. Saturday night game. Like, you're staying the night. Like, we're not driving back and forth. So the tournament directors can be creative on incentivizing, I'll call it, some of those, right?
Scheduling makes a huge difference.
And I think that takes a lot of effort too. And personally, I think that the hotels put forth that effort of really marketing more to those people too. And because we need them to be able to cooperate with us on that idea of, hey, we want to help you get those people in those hotel rooms. But like, what does that look like? Is there something that you guys can do, such as those booths? Why couldn't it be a local hotel that's giving or sponsoring a night? That would be so smart for them to do. That way they are pulling in more of that, or having these like kids eat free kind of things, or just whatever for breakfast. Like, get creative with it. Yeah, I like it. Anybody else have anything to add to it? No? All right, well, we'll move on then. More exciting in a couple weeks. We'll hear more about that, hopefully. We are going to move on to our update on the marketing consultant RFP, and that is Patrick again. What's going on with the latest with that?
Well, thank you. I haven't had a chance to talk tonight, so I really
Yeah.
appreciate it. I approached this group last year about the possibility of, with a request to place in within the budget some monies to be used to potentially hire a marketing consultant. And my initial thought at the time was to go out with an RFP, and after some thought and consideration input from others better in the know, we went out last year with an RFI, so a request for information from marketing groups, teams, members, individuals, consultants that provided us some feedback as to what they potentially could do regarding this question and their capabilities. And we actually had, I believe, a total of 13 responses, which I thought was fantastic. And in that, we learned a lot about, what capabilities those groups have. I think it's well justified now to proceed with the issuance of a full RFP that would then ask for what I'm terming to be a marketing audit. We spend money out of OCVB budget for marketing to promote our community as a location for tourism activities, events, Heritage and Freedom Fest, Celebration of Lights, jamming in the park, other things. And sometimes, the tricky thing about marketing advertising, you just don't know whether those dollars are being effective or not. And so what I would like to do is have some professionals who actually deal with this all the time to come in and kind of look at what we are presently spending our monies on and how are they being effective, what are the gaps that they might see in that effort, and what their recommendations would be to fill those gaps or maybe reorient and re-strategize our marketing dollars. And with that, potentially, maybe a phase 2 of that would be at some point coming in and helping organize that revised marketing effort for us. And so we only have a limited amount of dollars set aside in this year's budget. The idea was to get this out at the first quarter, but since we haven't had a couple meetings, it's running a little late. But I have presented to you kind of an outline of this RFI, the body of the RFI, and looking for your inputs, thoughts on this, with the idea that I would like to be able to come back to you in July with a final version of this to be issued and then move forward.
I personally love the idea just because I also think that with marketing, your needs change throughout the years, and maybe something that made sense when things were first approved years ago that maybe are still, money is still being spent on might not make as much sense today, or might not be as relevant. So I think that going through that and seeing exactly where we're spending that and if it makes sense is a great idea.
Was the concept of a marketing audit something that came out of the RFIs?
That was kind of my initial thought, John, was to do some sort of a marketing audit just to give us some, I don't know, and I'm not sure as internal staff or any, we fully kind of, we know how to spend the money. Do we really know how well we're spending that money? And even my own department and budget, we have marketing dollars, making sure that, and we actually have a professional public relations firm that works with us to help make those strong, good decisions. And but I think we're seeing under OCVB, it's dollars that we allocate that we spend on a various amount of different things, and no one is looking at it holistically. And so I think that's the recommendation.
No, and I like the idea. I just never heard of one. That's why I was wondering if it had come out of some of the responses from the RFIs. And I agree. I don't know that we have a whole lot of marketing specialists on staff, so it is good to get an outside. Even if we did, I would argue it's good to at least every once in a while to get an outside view, right? So that we're not kind of drinking on drinking the Kool-Aid.
Absolutely.
Well, some of those billboard salespeople can be very persuasive.
Exactly.
And they can talk you into, oh, you're going to get 250,000 eyeballs a day on your
Wow.
billboard for the 3 seconds that it flashes up there going at 70 miles an hour when you're looking over there instead of at the billboard. But
Yeah, exactly. Yep. I love the idea. Would you like to put a motion forward then for us to move forward? Are we going to do that in the end of July meeting? Is that the thought? Is this more of a discussion?
I would appreciate any feedback you would have regarding this draft document, and from there, I will, given that feedback, and I will be consulting with our recreation team and tourism festivals and others, and hopefully be able to present back to you in the July a finalized document that prepared for issuance and seek your approval at then.
Okay, perfect. All right, everyone's good. We're going to move on to the next line item, which is the discussion on the new meeting date and time. I can personally say that I think the discussion of this came up just because of a lack of quorum at a couple of our meetings and attendance, that maybe it might be a better time or date for people. And I think after kind of putting that out there to some of the commission members, the impression that I get from some of the emails that came through as well is that the afternoons are tough for some of our commission members, with kids in the afternoon getting off of school, specifically during the school year. And then just maybe being in the middle of their day, 3 o'clock, being able to stop and get here. I've gotten the impression that mornings would work better. I don't know that the day matters. I don't know if you agree. I think that it was one of our commission members mentioned around a 10 o'clock time, 10 in the morning. I personally can say that it doesn't matter to me. I have a very flexible schedule that I'm fortunate to have. So it really would be what works best for everyone, but I would love to be able to see us to get together, in a full quorum. And so if that's something that works for everybody, moving that to perhaps maybe keeping it on that same fourth Wednesday, but maybe moving it to a morning time. And that's obviously up for discussion. I don't know how that would work for everybody else, so. Anybody else have opinion on that?
I'm totally flexible on time.
Okay.
John, what's your situation? I know you are still full employed, and so.
Yeah, I mean, I'm a complete crapshoot, to be honest with you, because I travel a lot. So it's almost like I couldn't tell you that any specific day of any month is a good one for me, just because, like, last week I had to go to Philadelphia, I was told on Friday, and went on Monday night kind of thing. So to be honest with you, I couldn't tell you. I could make a lot of times work if I know far enough in advance and I don't get called out to have to go travel. But yeah.
Okay. Having the dates in advance obviously help, but times will, right. Okay, right, understood.
And I think once we potentially establish a new day of the week and time, then Susan would get that information out on the scheduled meetings, so we would all have that information. But yeah, and our hotel representative, Ankur Patel, he has struggled with this too because of some of his national obligations regarding his position and some associations, and same as you, he travels with that a lot. So we're just trying to find a way to make sure we at least have 5 individuals that are able to attend, and how we get there. So
Okay.
Christine and I are here. We're here.
What do we think?
We're usually here all the time. So.
Okay. Well, I don't really know. I mean, what do we want to propose a new time? And does that need how does that work? Do we need to make a motion to do so? Do we want to propose that? Do we want to have more discussion and then maybe hope that we have a larger commission here at the end of July meeting, and then make that decision? And in the middle of that, talking to everybody about what time would work best? I'm not sure.
I would suggest you kind of take a poll and say, hey, here's, pick your day and time. Who do we know this will never work for? Oddly enough, I think the people who aren't here right now are the ones you'd probably want the most input from.
Yes.
Right?
Yes.
Which is kind of weird. But I think if you just kind of pick the slot, put it out there, and if you have anybody that knows they can never make that, then come up with an alternative.
I agree.
That's kind of how I would probably approach that.
Okay. Okay.
Yeah, I think that's probably the best strategy at this point, and then hopefully be able to come back in at the end of the month, in July, and with a recommendation on that, and then kind of move. I would hate to want to try to figure out a way to changing that date now.
Right.
You know,
And then not working.
to proceed with, you know, our regularly scheduled July meeting.
Initially, I'm thinking maybe, I mean, my opinion is limited options, because too many choices, then you get too many things going. But I would say maybe keeping it on that same Wednesday, but doing that 9 or 10 or something like that in the morning, and just literally maybe time slots being the option more than the day. I don't know that the day has been an issue unless you are traveling and things that you don't know. But I think it's been more of the time. So maybe just like, what would the time, if we were to still do this on the 4th Wednesday of the month, would these times work better? Maybe throwing some of those. What is the earliest that we can do of these meetings? I don't know that. I'm not aware with the city.
You'd have to check with communications and see what their schedule is.
Okay. So, I mean, because I can do early in the morning. If somebody wanted to do early before the day gets going, that would be fine with me as well. I think that would work.
Well, I know that Don walks by right
I'm an
on the
early bird,
sidewalk
so
every morning.
I'm up at 5, so.
You can just divert off. In theory, I would say 8 o'clock,
Okay.
8:30 maybe at the earliest.
And I don't know if maybe that 8:39 would be better once school's back in. Because once school's back in session, are the parents dropping off at that 8? I know my kids used to go to school at like 8:20. So is it better to maybe shoot for that 9 a.m. that allows for you to get your kids to school, that then allows you to have enough time to commute to the city hall as well? Just a thought. What do we think? Maybe throwing out 9 and 10? Doing a poll. Okay. All right. Okay. Any other thoughts on that? Okay. If there is any other comments or anything that anybody would like to say before we wrap up this meeting? No? All right, meeting adjourned.